Before you create any WLANs, there's some things that you need to consider. First of all, what name will you give your WLAN? Are you concerned about encrypting the traffic between the devices and the access point? Do the WLANs need to be mapped to any VLANs? Do you need to filter or limit any network traffic? Are you concerned with authenticating users and devices? And finally, how will you monitor the performance of the WLANs and the devices on the WLANs? So they are some of the things that you need to have in mind before you start to create some WLANs, and the answer to those questions will come depending on the type of WLAN that you create. So we start with going to configure WLANs, and we can see the WLANs menu. If we scroll down, we can see some additional options: WLAN groups, VLAN pooling, zero IT activation, dynamic PSK, bypass Apple CNA, and a web portal logo. These are all things that we will configure when it becomes relevant to the type of WLAN that we're creating. So for now, let's go back up to the top and go to WLANs and have a look at what happens when we click to create a new WLAN. Well, we can see at the top that there are some options: general options, WLAN usages, scroll down, authentication options, encryption, some other options, and then finally we get to an advanced options stage. So let's cover this in two parts. First of all, I'll go through all of these options at the top with you, and then I'll do a separate module on the advanced options. We'll begin then with the name that we're going to give our WLAN, and regardless of the type of WLAN that you're implementing, you will need to add a name in here. When we go down then, we can see the types of WLANs that we can create. We have standard usage. This is where we'll either have an open network or a pre-shared key network, and this is common for a lot of the simple deployments. Guest access we'll look at later when we start to bring in guests, and the same with hotspot service Whisper. Hotspot 2.0 is an advanced topic that's outside the scope of this course, so we won't cover Hotspot 2.0. We'll also look at autonomous WLANs and social media WLANs. Once we've selected our WLAN type, we can look at the authentication options, and again this may change according to the type of WLAN that we are implementing. Fast Bss transitions are enabled by ticking the box to enable 802.11r fast transition roaming. That's a bit of an advanced subject. It's used in VoIP deployments, and we'll look at that in a separate module too. The encryption options give us the opportunity to select the type of encryption we're going to use with the WLAN, and this will change again according to the WLAN type that we're using. Further options allows for web authentication. This provides a captive portal, whether we're going to authenticate to a local database or a AAA server. The next step is wireless client isolation, which allows us to isolate the traffic, and I'll show you how that works in a separate module. Zero IT activation is something that allows us to auto-configure devices. Again, I'll show you that in a separate module. And then priority is to do with the quality of service setting, and all WLANs are set to a priority of high by default. Let's just finish then with a quick demonstration. I'm going to create a WLAN, so I'm going to call it standard WLAN 1. We see that the ESS ID is populated automatically. That's fine. It's a standard usage WLAN. For all other details, I'm going to leave them as defaults. For encryption, I'm going to use WPA2, and the passphrase I'll put in as Ruckus1 exclamation mark. Note here the 802.11w management frame protection option. This is an advanced feature. Compliant clients are able to verify any management frames that are sent to them, and so if this option is enabled, then only verified management frames will be acted upon. Not all clients support this. You would only use this under specific circumstances. We'll leave everything else as is and OK. And then I'm going to create another WLAN, and I'm going to call it standard WLAN 2. And I'll do exactly the same. I'll leave it as a standard WLAN Ruckus1 with an exclamation mark. Again, I'll go down and click OK. So now we have two standard WLANs. Okay, very simple. That's how the WLANs are created. I know most of this you're going to be very comfortable with, but we will be using these WLANs moving forward as our example WLANs. If you're following along with this video series, then create a couple of test WLANs now that we can use later on.